Welcome back to Dropped In. I am so excited to be here with you today and to share my beautiful soul sister and just awesome, beautiful human being with you today, Dr. Daniella Gonzalez. So grateful to have you here and to share you with our Dropped In community. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I am so excited to be here with you. Like when we see each other, it's like,
Yeah,
because we
totally.
really love each other. I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me.
Aw, it's funny. So, side note, Dr. Danielle and I did our master NLP training together, and we sat together beside each other in our closing ceremony. And I will never forget the gift that you gave me of that red cardinal. And I just always, it comes into meditation with me, and it just is a constant reminder of my magic of medicine and also your magic of medicine. So we always have that beautiful energetic exchange
Yes.
with one another.
Yes, and touching our hearts. So it was a beautiful experience.
It was. It was. So before we drop in, I will share your well stacked bio with our crew today. So Dr. Daniella Gonzalez was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but has lived in the United States for 15 years. In addition to be a fiery Puerto Rican Latina, wife, doggy mom, and dancer. She is a scientist and global portfolio manager working in a leading beauty company. At the same time, she has been a coach for 9 years and owns a coaching business called Dr. Dani G Mind and Body Transformation. And so, Dani, I'm so grateful to be here and to share you with our community. And you, when I think of you, you are just like the all around, all inclusive, like stacked in experience, wealth of knowledge. Like you are just, you just are this incredible person who I just feel like is just doing so much and giving so much to the world. So before we really dive deep, like, can you share with me exactly what you do and how you got into this field of work that you are in today?
Yes, yes. And the same way that it sounds like it's a lot of things, sometimes, like even say the message of what I do is complicated because precisely like I use all my skills and also I do a lot of things to help people. But it's something incredibly gratifying. So as you mentioned, and I am a mind and body transformation coach. So pretty much that's my very short way to describe that I actually work on the connection of the mind and body. So I am a functional nutrition health coach and also life coach. Okay, and I have expertise, as you know, as NLP and all this that we do hypnotherapy, but also emotional eating. And I work mainly with busy men and women, and as I like to call it, to rebel against ordinary wellness so they can get a more powerful, fun, and deep transformation in a way that feels authentic and unique to them. And the reason why I said to rebel against ordinary wellness is because, to be honest, I was so tired to see just superficial, fitness and diets, and you just need this quick fix to feel good about yourself. And there are so many layers, not only from a nutrition standpoint, but also from an emotional and mental and mindset standpoint that have been ignored. And I say that I work with busy people precisely because that's me. And that's what who I was as well. I say that it's me still because I'm a busy woman, but I manage it more differently than I used to before. And also because it's where, like, when I didn't know how to manage my busy lifestyle and I used to be super overwhelmed, I really couldn't cope with it the right way, emotionally and mentally. And then eventually it became a problem also on my nutrition, on my weight. And and it was kind of a cascade of disruption that I wasn't even calling for it, but it was just happening. As you well know, these things also come, the origin many times from our experiences and also things that are in our subconscious mind. But at that time, I didn't have that knowledge. So yeah, I think that my soul client, it's me a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Always. Yeah.
Always is,
Always.
right?
Yeah, 100%. You are the embodiment of the work that you offer, that's for sure. So what do you like, how did you get into this work? So I know from what you've shared with me and from what I shared with you, like I have a history
Mhm.
of having an eating disorder. I was bulimic, anorexic for 18 years, a very long time. 10
Mhm.
years free now.
Mm.
But in the process, it was not easy to overcome. So
Yeah.
yeah, can you speak into a little bit of your journey and the big why behind what you do?
Yeah, of course. And first of all, I want to say that thank you for sharing that, because I know how vulnerable it is to share it, and that
Mhm.
you also overcame it. So, okay, I can tell you, let me see where I start. Because, and how I summarize it. The story is long, but I can start where I noticed that I had a problem. Okay, and the first time that I noticed that I had a problem, actually it wasn't me who noticed it, it was a doctor who noticed
Mm.
it. I knew that there was something wrong. So it was probably when I was 17 or so, on my late teens, and I lost my weight like drastically. I always been relatively skinny, but I was like a skeleton, like I was pretty skinny. What it's interesting is that I was not trying to become more skinny, that I was trying to look certain way. It was fully an effect, an emotional effect, simply because I was stressed, because I felt sad or any negative emotion. It literally automatically closed my stomach. I didn't feel like I needed to eat or I wanted to eat, and I just didn't. Okay, without honestly thinking on the consequences of it. At that time and right now, as I speak about it, it sounds like it's something very genetic and it just happened, but I will talk a little more what was behind that. Okay, so pretty much, I started like, um I, how do I say this, like dealing with it and doing something about it, because I got sick for something else, and I went to, well, for something else, that's what I thought. So I went to the doctor, and she knew me, and she said, Daniela, why are you so skinny? And I was like, I don't know, I'm okay, this is me. Like I didn't, wasn't even noticing how skinny I was getting. So I went to the doctor, and she checked me, and she said, Daniela, you are anorexic, girl. Like
Mm.
you are. And the vocabulary that she used, making a pause here, I want to make something clear. So I wasn't really diagnosed as anorexic, even though she used that word, because from a psychological standpoint, to be anorexic, and this is what my therapist actually explained, means that you intentionally try, like, not eat so
Mhm.
you can look a certain way, right? It's more about body image. In my case, I was not trying to look skinny. It's just that I made a decision of not eating because I was feeling a certain way. So it was an emotional impact, but not necessarily I was seeking for it. It's kind of weird. Almost doesn't make sense. But physiologically, my doctor said, like, you don't have nutrients. Your body is eating itself. Okay. And thankfully, she actually told me this with time, and she gave me at that time a prescription so to open my appetite. And then there's where my ups and down in my weight started, because now I have awareness that I kind of became these, that I wasn't I didn't have that intention, but now, oh shit, like I'm sorry, I don't know if I can
Oh,
swear
you can
here.
swear.
And, okay. Yeah, because I tend to swear a lot, so I need to be careful. Is that I have this issue, I need to do something about it, and then it was started the stress of, oh, should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And now, I'm having this medication that is opening my appetite. So it's like I want to eat everything. I really didn't think, I wasn't like, this is good, this is bad. I'm just now hungry and I eat everything. And then I started gaining weight suddenly, and like from being like 25 pounds or underweight, then I gained all those 25 pounds, and then I noticed that I was getting a little heavier, and then I try not to eat so much, but now I'm feeling hungry. And then there was like back and forth of trying to handle my eating. Also my emotions, because yes, I was now trying to heal in a really weird way my weight, but I haven't healed my emotions yet. I haven't learned how to cope with my stress and my anxiety and my depression and everything behind it. So it was really a long journey. But the real core of all this is what I wasn't able to see at that moment until I seek for help, for more help, mental health help, is that I had several experiences when I was a kid where I didn't feel listened, where I was keeping a big secret. And just, because I feel now in a much better place with this, and I can talk about it. I was molested when I was a little girl for about 2 years. And I started at 4 until I was 6, so I was a baby pretty much. And the person that did it tried to make me feel that it was my fault and threatened me if I didn't do what he was asking, he was going to do it to my sister. And then, had a lot of similar threats. So, I'm over it. Let's say over it, because I have processed it a lot, but still talking about it makes me feel emotional, because it's my little Daniela, it's my little girl who didn't know any better. And then I grew up with silence, of not speaking that, because I thought that I did something wrong and believing those lies that he told me. And I grew up with a lot of guilt and with a lot of also resentment with the world, because I felt that I lost my innocence very early in my life, and I was trying to fit with other people and other girls and everything, but I felt that it didn't fit anywhere, because I felt that I was the only one that went through that experience. So I think that part of me having that reaction with my body and that disconnection, sorry, with my emotions and my body and my mind, was because I felt very disconnected since I was a little kid. And there was a part of me that was probably seeking for attention, to be heard, to be seen. And probably that was my way at that time.
Wow. My goodness. Thank you for sharing so openly and so vulnerably, and for trusting this space to be held, and yeah, just sending you and little Daniela so much love. And yeah, it's real, right? I can relate. I have a very similar story, and we don't know what's occurring for us when this is like a reaction. Like the eating disorders are a reaction, because it's like, how can I protect myself? How can I, like you said, call on for help and support without being able to verbalize and communicate that, right? So,
Yes, exactly.
wow.
And
Yeah.
I know that your question was like how I ended up being a coach. I think that was your question, if I remember correctly. And I think it's, this was a big part why I became a coach. I started trying to, I went through the nutrition route because that was my struggle at that time. To be honest, sometimes when we decide to help people, we don't know exactly where to start. So let me see where I start. It was with my nutrition certification. And I still do nutrition because I love it, but also it's because I'm a scientist. So there's actually a lot of science behind nutrition and the biochemistry of the body, but also there's a lot of biochemistry in the brain. And I started getting very fascinated about all these, then learning more about neurolinguistic programming and how the mind works and the brain works is so fascinating. I really feel this need to almost change the world of isolating the body and the mind. It's just so freaking connected. And you know this, you are a Kundalini, master, and you know how, the power of even doing movements with your body and breathing and all these really change your mind, your brain.
So true. So true. And what's powerful about the work that we facilitate is getting to the root, right? Like, so sure, I know. So for my own experience, like when I finally decided, like I graduated from nursing school and I was like, okay, I can't help anybody until I help myself. And that's kind of when I opened up the door to receive help. And I won't share my whole story, but really, after getting prescribed medication for depression and anxiety, I was like, no, sure, this is like what I'm being diagnosed that I have, but I need to get to the root cause as to why I'm experiencing this. It's not the medication. And trust me, I'm a nurse, you're a scientist. Like, there is a time and place. However, I knew for me personally, intuitively, I had to get to the root cause as to why I was experiencing depression, why I was experiencing anxiety, why I was experiencing this eating disorder for so long. And so what is so powerful about this work is getting to the root, right?
Definitely. And you are actually touching a very important point here with the medications and, mental illness and all this, because I feel, I mean, maybe I can only talk about my experience, but I feel that right now we have so much accessible tools. And now this world of coaching also, it's more visible because of, like now we are interacting virtually. But years ago, those resources were not as accessible or even talk about mental health, right? And it was so common, like if you feel a little stress of anxiety, then you get a pill. And as you say, I was also on anxiety medications because, as I said, I started when I was a teenager and I had this health and weight issue. I was prescribed some medications to help me physically, but then I was like, the next couple of years were ups and downs with my weight, and my mind was still spiraling. And it actually got worse when I went to graduate school, because graduate school is tough. To do a PhD is tough. And I also, haven't realized that I had an additional situation, and is that I actually had ADHD, and they diagnosed it when I was already an adult. And on top of that, there were some things that I wasn't understanding about myself. I was always dedicated and smart or whatever, but I also needed to dedicate a lot of time studying, and probably more than other people that I knew. And it was like, why? What is happening with my focus here, right? And for example, with the anxiety, these things were also causing me anxiety, plus all that trauma that I had unresolved and unprocessed. And then it was so hard for me to keep the physical part, but I didn't know why. I was like, okay. And you know what? When you're also skinny, you don't get maybe, like, let's say, as much of how do I say this? It's like people think that you are fine because you're skinny, but there are so many things sometimes underneath. So I'm saying this because we need to be conscious and also respectful, right? Like both, like people that are overweight or people that are underweight, or, we never know. And this is something that I tell my clients, that they sometimes feel that they need to look super skinny. And I said, according to whom? According to whom? What are you 100% sure that this girl that you're comparing to that is super skinny, is she healthy? Sometimes we need to put things in perspective, because people looked at me like I was skinny, but I wasn't healthy. And I was also battling with both my physical and mental health. So going back to the topic about the anxiety and taking medication and all that, I had a time where I took medication, and it was very helpful, and I needed it, and it helped me operate a little more. But at the same time, as you said, I wasn't really working with the core issue there. And then I was numbing myself. So I wasn't like going crazy with panic attacks anymore. But then I was feeling lethargy, and I wasn't feeling like that was my personality. But then if I don't take the pill, I will go out of control, and I won't be able to do my exams and study for this and that. And there's like another issue on top of it, right? Because you're trying to solve one problem, and then you're creating another, and it just becomes a chaos. And the truth is that life will always present new challenges. And if you don't know how to first understand yourself, where your reactions are coming from, and how to actually try to process this situation, you will try to start changing all your external circumstances, but the internal will always be there. And yeah, and there's where, I just to do fast forward, I got to the realization that I needed to really go to the root cause of things. And at that time, I started with a therapist, a psychologist that still my psychologist. So I have been with her for 15 years. And then I started discovering coaches and life coaches. And oh my God, that, other issues started rising. Like I was also a perfectionist. And to me, that was my badge of honor to be a perfectionist. Sometimes we also carry like anxiety and all these things like labels, like they are badge of honors. And even though we know anxiety is not good, but we kind of sometimes use it like, well, this happens to me because I suffer of anxiety, right? And it's a reality, and it's completely valid. Anxiety is freaking real. Like it is. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I know people that suffer of it. No, it is. However, there are things that you can do about it, and you can do it naturally too. And sometimes you need to continue taking your pill, but also you can work in these other things that are going to work with your mind, with your soul, right?
So true.
So,
So what do you use today to support, like if anxiety arises, what tools do you use personally?
I use a lot of tools, but the first one that I do is to make a pause. Okay. Sometimes, like when you go to a panic attack or to a reaction, is because you are going from the event to the reaction quickly, because you are not going through some steps that are in between, that are coming from your subconscious mind, right? So now what I do is that I pause and say, okay, wait, where is this coming from? Like why I'm feeling like this, where in my body I'm feeling this, and which one of my core personal needs is sticking out here. So for those that don't know, we have 6 personal core needs. And sometimes, these are uncertainty, certainty, connection, okay, I'm forgetting them, but anyway, there are 6. A significance. So sometimes, like, we are trying to feel either one of our core needs is being threatened, or we are trying to feel one of them that feels empty. So sometimes I've noticed with myself that sometimes when I feel anxious about something is that one of them is sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes mainly it's certainty.
Mm.
Okay. I want to know what is going to happen. I want to control my circumstance and what it's going to, what is going on.
Yeah.
And you actually, there's an exercise where you can know which are your two main personal core needs. Mine are definitely certainty and significance. And even though like I cringed when I say significance, because that's almost like, you can also define that as seeking validation and all these. Not necessarily that means that you are a bad person or that you are a weak person. It's just, this is a human experience. This is how human brain works, right? So sometimes, when I feel anxious, like I try to identify what is a core need that is sticking out. Sometimes it's certainty, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's significance, that I have not been seen. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. And that makes me like, oh, I want to do something about it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just I want to control my outcome and my
Mm-hmm.
future. So first, it's important to understand where it is coming from. And then what do you decide to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is that it's in our hands to make a decision. You either be with it. So you either be with your reality, be with the anxiety feeling. Don't try to push it, because usually we want to push it and avoid it. But what happens when somebody tells you not to do something? You want to
Mm-hmm.
do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of natural homeostasis in the brain. So, I do that pause, I identify my core needs. I say, where is this coming from? What I'm feeling like this, where I'm feeling it. Okay, what will be my decision? How do I want to react about this? Is this something I really have control? I'm 100% sure that I can control this,
Mm-hmm.
or not. It's
Mm-hmm.
really a yes or no answer.
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, okay, there's really not much I can do about it. Just live my life, right? And I'm telling you this as somebody that right now is trying to get pregnant, and I'm having difficulties with my fertility, and I really want this freaking baby, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not happening. And it's been really hard to work with coping with this uncertainty and with the anxiety that it comes. Right now, I'm waiting for my embryos genetic test to see if they are good for transfer or not. And this kills me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, kind of identifying and understanding that this is happening with me, not to me, helps me to know how to react. And there are many tools that we can use, as meditation, as yoga, as EFT, emotional
Mm-hmm.
freedom technique. Oh my God, I use emotional freedom technique tapping so many times, especially when I wake up in
Same.
the morning, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
so powerful. It's something so simple, but it's so powerful. I wasn't into it at the beginning. I was like, what is this? Like me tapping, like what? And again, it was a decision I needed to make. I said, okay, I really want this to work for me, right? So let me try to
Mm-hmm.
get into it. And it actually started helping. And there are really so many other tools that we can mention, Meg, that
Mm-hmm.
.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. So, to loop back into the conversation of the six human needs, and yours primarily significance and certainty,
Mhm.
isn't it, when you kind of take a bird's eye view and reflect back on the story you shared when you were between 4 and 6 years of age, of course you want to be seen because you were told
Mhm.
not to say anything. And of course you want
Exactly.
certainty because it was so uncertain. It was so unsafe. So you want to learn how to control the environment around you because everything was out of control, right? So really, it also comes back to our inner child, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for
Oh
sharing
my
that.
God. Yes, exactly. You just went to the point. It's, and it's interesting because until we are not told that, right? We don't know this is
Mhm.
coming from that time. And is that imprinting time between 0 to 7 years where we have all these experiences, and our ego, the part of our brain, right? Like
Mhm.
um we grow up when we are a child with them, and this part of the brain wants to protect us and want the best for us,
Mhm.
right? But also it continues being there, like the ego continues being there. And for those that don't know, because I know that the word ego can show like egotistic, egocentric. We are talking about a part of the brain that it's formed in the imprinting time between 0 to 7 years old, and that influences a lot on your decisions and the way that you react about things, and is very primitive as well. So that continues there when we are adults, and even when we evolve and we get more mature, but this part is very primitive. And this is when, from this part is where sometimes we react certain way that we say, why I'm reacting like this? Why I'm crying? I don't know why I'm crying. Like, what I'm feeling like I'm feeling, I don't know. And sometimes it's just that the ego is, reacting. It's there. It's one wants to protect you, wants the best for you, but not necessarily use the most updated methods to try to protect you, right? And yeah, and for example, when I feel these times where I feel uncertain, probably it's also my inner child, like feeling that not protected part of me, like when I wasn't feeling secure and protected. And again, I want to make sure, because maybe my parents are going to listen to this, and I'm incredibly grateful for them, and they're wonderful parents. Like, I want everybody to know also that you can be an amazing parent, and sometimes what happened to your kids, it's not your fault. Like, it was, I didn't tell anybody this was happening to me. My mom just, I was going to play with my neighbors, and that's it. And what she was going to know, right? But there's a part of me as a child that I felt nobody saw this, even if I didn't say it, right? Nobody saw it. And yeah, so these things stick with you until you're an adult. You don't realize it because that was the past, right? But it's incredibly strong, and you literally need guidance to process, like professional guidance, I'm talking, to process these, like with a therapist, and also coaches to help you know how to move forward and show you tools to, kind of also help you with processing it.
So true. So true. Yeah. The biggest thing is to not feel like you have to do this alone, right? There's so much support around you. And yeah, that's the biggest thing to acknowledge for sure. I could speak with you all day, and
I
definitely would
know,
love.
I can speak a lot. We
I would
haven't
love.
even talked about nutrition today, but this is what it's wonderful about mind and body. Everything is connected.
100%, 100%. So for those listening, how can they connect with you? How can they learn from you? How can they work with you?
Yes, so they can find me on my Instagram. So my handle is at the art of Dr. dot Dani, DANIG 1. That's my Instagram handle. You can DM me. You can see my free content. Please say hi. Also, you can go to my website, Dr. Dani G, without the dot, drdanig.com. And yeah, so, just say hi, say hi to me and Megan. Follow us if you haven't yet.
I love it. I love it. Cool. Well, thank you so much for dropping in today. And before we leave the conversation, if someone listening is, wanting to throw in the towel, wanting to quit, wanting to give up, what is a message of hope that you can give them today?
Oh, Lord, please don't. Please don't give up. Don't throw the towel, because I have been there. I literally was in a time where I rock bottom, and I said, it's done. Like, my life is done. And I'm so glad that I didn't do it, because I had so much looking ahead, and to just, like, 100%, there are people that is going to help you. You just need to talk. You just need to seek for the help. Hey, there's Meg here. There's me here. Please tell us, I need you. Okay. Life is wonderful, and sometimes, many times, I was about to write a post to do an Instagram post about this today, but I didn't have time to do it. Is sometimes when we see that we are in our worst moment, and that we want to give up is actually the beginning to your next level.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, when you feel squeezed, like I can't do it anymore, that's just the beginning of your next level. So never give up. We are here for you.
I love it. Love it. So true. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of
Thank you for
course.
sharing just your wealth of knowledge and sharing your story with us. And I'm just so grateful to have you in my life and to be connected with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me here and to speak to your audience. I'm so blessed and honored.
Mm. And until next time, we will see you on Dropped In. Thank you so much for dropping in with me today. If you loved this episode, I would be forever grateful if you rated and reviewed. And if you feel called to share it with your community on social media, please tag me so I can thank you personally. Until next time, I will see you on Dropped In.